what's really important, I think, is to enjoy what you do. And that for me comes in a business that you appreciate. And I think finding a business that you can relate to, that marries up to how your makeup is, I think when you find that, and it is out there.
Hello and welcome to the Journey to CFO, ACCA's new podcast where we explore real stories behind the title. In each episode, we're speaking with some leading CFOs across the country and we're exploring the profession and uncovering their successes, their challenges and lessons they've learned on their journey to become a CFO. I'm your host, Rachel Shorter, CFO and founder, and I'm joined today by Amanda Burton. Amanda is a Chief Financial Officer at Tiny Rebel, where she oversees multiple departments and plays a central role in shaping the business strategic decision. She's worked strongly with teams across the organisation to drive performance, support decision-making and maintain strong financial control. In a fast-paced, moving environment, she focuses on building resilient, sustainable business and managing risk and ensuring that the company is well positioned for the future, while staying true to its purpose and delivering great beer. Amanda's also passionate about developing people and fostering an environment where teams feel supported, challenged, but empowered to do so. Amanda, welcome to our ACCA podcast.
Thank you for having me.
How was your journey down? Cardiff you've come from?
Just outside of Cardiff, and it was nice and smooth.
Always lived in Cardiff?
Just outside.
Yeah.
Just outside Cardiff, a little bit more into the valleys, called Caerphilly.
Nice. Never heard of it, but it sounds exotic.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome to ACCA's podcast on a Journey CFO. Today we're just going to be talking about the journey that you've had from the qualification, how it's helped you, how it's shaped you. What we're looking for really and what we're talking about is anyone that's listening to this, what nuggets they're going to be taking away when they're on their own journey to become a CFO. So we're ACCA qualified. Talk to us about how you got into ACCA and why ACCA and how it helped shapes your career.
In every way, actually. So I'm very proud of what I have in terms of ACCA. Carried the qualification for almost 2 decades. And it shaped and been part of what I am. The kind of early start of my career in ACCA, I didn't come from a privileged background. I was the first person in my family to go to university and the first person, therefore, in my family to do a professional qualification like ACCA. So for me, the kind of underpinning that and thinking about where that could lead me was really strong. ACCA certainly put out the early foundations of what I want to be when I grow up. And it taught me a lot early days around governance, around structure, and it certainly formed part of, what was going to be my career as an accountant into what is today CFO. Maybe not set out initially to do that, not thinking that from the background I had that it was possible. But, I'm very proud of what I do and I am willing to learn always. So that's what I think has carried me to what started the ACCA and obviously been part of my journey today.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what's really inspiring is when you said that it's opened up opportunity, especially when you talked about background and where we're from. One thing I've always found with ACCA is that it does open up a broad spectrum of doors for us and opportunity. Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that. So just going back to your early career and how you got into accountancy, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So I went to university to do an accountancy and finance degree, and it was during that course that I think it triggered that I wanted to be a pure accountant. Undertook my accountancy studies within the Financial Training College in Cardiff. At the time then I started my kind of first real job in practice, like many good accountants do. But stayed there for 2 years, I think, touching on multiple businesses, doing this kind of small to medium size accounts. I very much knew I wanted something bigger and better. So that led me into industry and I've been there ever since. Yeah.
And what do you love about industry compared to practice?
I just feel like I make a lot more of a difference.
Yeah, impact.
My industry, I've spent 2 decades in the pharmaceutical world, which is very clinical, very structured, very organised, very complex. And I think it was during my time in those, in that sort of industry, that it taught me aligning with ACCA, the sort of governance and compliance that's required to what us finance people do.
Yeah. So looking back at your career, did you feel like your career path was very linear? Did you always, for example, was it very much so like you went from accounts assistant to FM to FC to FD to CFO? Was it very linear, or was there certain paths that you had to think, maybe I need to take a step back to go forward?
Yeah, I think in the main it certainly was linear. I was very strong and passionate around, how I could grow, how I could learn more, how I could do something different.
Yeah.
So I had traditionally gone through kind of management accountant, financial analyst, into FMFD. So yes, I think looking at what opportunities were there, I'd certainly be listening and learning to my superiors and wondering how can I get that seat. I'm working hard to get there. There was a time in my life, though, it was around COVID, which I don't think is untypical for people, but a lot went on during those times, and I'd taken a step out of the pharmaceutical space. I'd been in there for over a decade, and I went into a different industry. It was food manufacturing. Again, a linear move, a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility, still kind of carrying at that time an FC title. But that business was very fast-paced. It was private equity backed. It was growing at speed, being in food around COVID. Of course, lots of businesses were doing very well. But as fast as that was growing, life was slowing down on the outside. And that certainly was a time I thought, maybe it's time for me to slow down. The family was still young. And I could admit it now that up to that point, my career was very much around progression and success. And I put that before the family. So I took some time out. I actually arranged to have some time with an executive coach, which I hadn't heard of at the time. Spent 6 weeks with them just trying to figure out what's my next step. I knew I didn't want to go up. I knew I didn't want to go sideways, actually. I did question ACCA too. Maybe I should try something else.
I think that's a really important note to add, is that you said that you spent 6 weeks with an executive coach. And I remember when I was coming up in the world, and that linear jump from FC to FD, I'll never forget it. I had a very, very good mentor, very good coach. I mean, we're still in contact with each other today. How did that coach help you start looking forward and start thinking about what it is that Amanda wanted to do?
Yeah. Do you know what? We started with just going back to basics. Stripping away all the kind of success that maybe I thought I had or didn't have. Back to, what my CV looked like. And these are really kind of good advices that you kind of think, I got to just make it look better and stronger. Actually, there was a lot in it, and there were some good things in it. So I just needed to find, those key aspects that I was not just technically good at, but I liked, I enjoyed. And that kind of found a new part of, I do still want to do this. I don't necessarily want to go backwards or sideways. And the answer for me was a different industry, actually. Heavy manufacturing. These were large businesses, global businesses. I wanted something a little bit more slower pace and at home. And at the time, I was looking for that, and I think I found it.
Oh, brilliant. So is that when you made the jump to Tiny Rebel, where you are now?
Yeah.
And so you're now in Tiny Rebel, and you entered into Tiny Rebel as CFO?
No, I was financial controller.
Wow. So you've seen yourself go from financial controller to FD to CFO. So talk us through that transition when you went from, or was promoted from FC then into FD.
The financial controller post was there to make a lot of change, to put in some governance into the business. The business was 10 years old, but it was still co-founder led. And it was in a kind of period of its life that it needed that sort of structure that an accountant brings, if you like, or someone qualified like us brings. So I quickly started to make a bit of an impact and influence with the board. Wow. It was something I was used to with what felt like my bigger world. And whilst I didn't think and feel that was part of the job, like I said, I did kind of take a bit of a backward step from the one job to the other. But all the step meant really was that I had more time for my family. I had more of a 9 till 5 routine than an 8 till 8, which was prior. The board of directors, I think I kind of pride myself to building trust, being honest in my role. sometimes that's difficult. Sometimes you're telling them things about their business that they don't like to hear, but that's not something I'm typically afraid of.
Yeah.
We tell stories, right? We tell facts. And it's them for them to interpret. So I think as I kind of led and built that trust with them, I became a bit of a board advisor. So just supporting, listening and hearing in their boards. This was before I became CFO.
I think what's really captured me, Amanda, and I have to say it, is the authenticity and how you speak very openly about having to take a step back before going forward. We come into this career journey thinking that it's always going to be linear, and that's not always the case. And nobody really speaks to us, especially at our level, that it's not always going to be that way. There can be setbacks, but that's okay, because as long as you've got the goal in sight, you would be just fine. And what I found really inspiring about when I spoke to you is that once you got your groove back, you came back very hungry. You came back, you advised on the board, you building trust with the board, and now you're in the FD role. And then from FD, you went on to CFO. When you transitioned now into CFO, did you find anything challenging at that point?
I didn't actually. I think I'd certainly found my space. Early days in the business, from what I'd been taught, was to focus not just on finance, but kind of be interested in the rest of the business.
Absolutely.
Right up until today, I look after and support every corner of the business that's there. And it's not untypical for me to be doing less finance and actually doing more operational, commercial type stuff. I mean, it was challenging in the way that I knew it was new. I knew there was a bit of a bigger expectation on me.
Yeah.
But I trusted myself.
Yeah.
And that came through years of not trusting myself and having those doubts that are there, and those doubts that exist in the instance where I said I wanted to take a step back. But I think I've ended up right back where I belong.
Absolutely. And congratulations to you. And thank you for sharing that very open and honest career progression. It's not just, they see the CFO title and there's an instant... there is something instant in people that thinks, oh my God, your career's just been linear, and that's not always the case. No. So thank you about that. So now you're CFO, you're now invited to the board, you're in a boardroom. What's your boardroom experience like?
I'm not untypical to anyone else's, I suppose. So we meet every month, and it's very strategic. I mean, at the point that I was appointed, we were at a turning point in our business to make change. Quite a lot of change, and we set up what we called a Fit for Future plan.
Okay.
And that strategic plan is what kind of lives and breathes in our board meeting every month.
Yeah.
And I'm a stickler for time, actions, sticking to the point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I bring a bit of organisation to what is Tiny Rebel and Rebels that we have. Yeah. But it's fun too, you know. We could be talking about a new beer, a new sort of customer base that we want to be placed in. So yeah, it has this fun side.
And how did you build like credibility with your board and your partners, your business partners, like beyond your technical capability? Because you touch really nicely on, it's not, some days the balance isn't 90% numbers and 10% operations. Sometimes it's more operational, more finance. And some of our accountants coming up tend to be more focused on the title, the compensation, just the focus on the numbers without trying to create value elsewhere within the business. Talk to me a little bit about the weight in terms of how you built credibility and just learning about the business.
Many CFOs aren't visible to the wider business, but I am. Good. I think it's very typical for me to be away from my desk, and that dates back to an MD that I had that said, nope, get behind your desk, get out on the shop floor, live and feel the problems, look at a quality issue, a warehouse issue. And whilst everything ties back to numbers, I've always created this space and this awareness to make sure that, yes, whilst I kind of back what I do and I'm there to listen and advise on the financial sides of stuff, it is that building that credibility and that trust to look at things beyond the numbers.
Absolutely. And you touched really nicely on, you had an MD that was like, come on, get from behind the desk and get out of it. I want to talk about people that inspire us in our career.
Yeah.
Was he one of the very people that inspired you?
He really was.
Yeah.
So his ex-military mindset was, getting it done, there's no time to waste. I think he taught me resilience. He taught me how to stay in control. And those are the things I kind of carry today. You kind of have to, because some decisions can be difficult decisions.
Absolutely.
And I think those early sorts of, that sort of attitude, whilst I don't think I carry that sort of military approach, there's definitely learnings that I take away from it that I think, even like I said, to this day, that are really important.
So now we're in the CFO seat. We've built credibility with the board. We're leading a team. Any leadership challenges that you've come across whilst being in the seat of CFO?
Yeah, I mean, you're learning all the time. And I think you learn from your mistakes quicker than you learn from the things that you think you might have done well and you want to do it again. So, those mistakes, they do come, they do happen. But being able to fail fast and learn quick is something I live by. And over time, I've realised that, as part of a CFO and or a director, we do have to listen, and we have to observe and learn. And I take high credit of the people and the team that work around me and the company that I'm in.
Absolutely.
It's really important for me to hear their voice and hear their opinion.
Okay, so now you're in the CFO seat, and what I really liked about speaking with you, Amanda, is that you spoke about the balance with family and having to take that step back. So speaking of family and balance, what does Amanda do outside of her CFO role?
And listen, that work and life is not easy. We all know it's not easy, but I don't actually believe there is a true work-life balance. But I do believe in, more recently, that my family come first. And I think Tiny Rebels allowed me to think like that because of the nature of the business and the culture that we've created. So I do have a family of a husband and children. They're happy and healthy, which makes me happy and healthy. And then outside of that, I have a very close network with my mum and my sisters. What's very interesting about being an accountant or a CFO, my mum's very proud of her children, but with my sisters, they have what you would call more tangible of a gift, which is, my one sister is a beautician. She's a great nail artist. My other one is a florist, fantastic, beautiful flowers. And then there I am that just goes to work 9 to 5. My mum's great. She helps pick up the children, and I'm very fortunate to have the support that I have of them. And they have allowed for my career to take the steps it's done. But the ironic thing is that they don't know, they don't really understand what that looks like, I think, from my world, because it is different to kind of what they do. But nevertheless, I do remind her, and she's very proud of me coming to this today.
No, that's brilliant, and thank you for sharing that. Now you're working with Tiny Rebel and looking back at your career, would you say that CFO was always your North Star?
Yes and no, actually. There were parts of my career that I'd say not. I had a better interest in things like the commercial and operational side of the business. So that wasn't always finance for me. It was a wider breadth of a business, which may have looked like an MD role rather than a CFO role. However, I'm an accountant at heart. I love numbers. Numbers is what I do and live and breathe every single day. So the opportunity to be Tiny Rebel CFO, I think, might look very different to being a different business's CFO, maybe.
Right.
And without question, I was ready, I was eager, I was keen. So, yes, in the last few years, that would have been my North Star. But certainly when I reflect and think of the very early beginning days, I just wanted to be good at what I was doing.
Excellent.
I just wanted to learn and grow. And wherever that took me, I didn't mind. I just wanted to keep making a difference in the worlds that I was in.
No, absolutely. And I think what's been a real good common trend with interviewing on this podcast and speaking with other CFOs on their journey is that the common trend is always that eagerness to learn, to grow, to keep going, no matter how much setbacks and failings that we've had. And just thinking about success and how we define success. How does Amanda define success beyond the job title, beyond the compensation?
Yeah. Success is how I feel. It's how I feel at the end of the day or on a Sunday night going to work in the morning. You're right. It isn't always about remuneration and job title. I was once told you'd be called Mickey Mouse. It doesn't matter. You just need to get the job done. And I think I live by that. I've used that probably too many times. But, sometimes even our job description might not match what we do. And I've always been hungry that I want to be doing over and above my job description anyway. I mean, it's like I said, it's the corner of the businesses that I touch on, and it's seeing a great workforce, it's being influenced by them, it's seeing that they're happy, that they know that I'm a go-to person if they need anything. So success definitely reaches far beyond the title that I have. You know, a typical day for me is going on the shop floor or in the bar, just to check in and making sure that everything is sound, and if they need me, that I'm there. So no, I think success doesn't always count for it. Maybe it does for some, but for me personally, I'm quite grounded, quite humble. Success probably came as early as ACCA, actually, because the hard work that goes into something like that, you know, teaches you a lot of things. And I think success is, for me, is just learning and growing. And as whilst that's a little bit cliche, I'm still investing in myself today. In addition to ACCA, I'm actually doing a HR professional qualification now, to kind of bolt on to my CFO post. I've taken care of HR for a few years now. So I'm now doing my HR qualification, and I just appreciate the sort of support that qualification gives you and the trust that it gives out to the business.
I think what's really important that you noted there, that without being told, it's always perceived, and we should always be prepared that when you're in the CFO seat, we wear several hats. It's not just finance. Sometimes it's operations. Sometimes it's HR. But what's going to be the common thread is that we just keep going and we keep believing in what we're doing and in the business that we're working with. So thank you very much for sharing that. So Amanda, one of the things that you mentioned was that when you had the setback, you recruited an executive coach to help you look forward. And what I think is really key is that we invest in ourselves to then look forward and invest in other people. How did having the executive coach help shape your leadership style and help you to go forward?
Well, first and foremost, I didn't really appreciate the strength of what an executive coach could do. And as I suggested, I was kind of falling backwards, or wanted to kind of sit in a world that was much easier. Didn't have to wear the finance hat, didn't even have to wear the hats that I was putting on myself. So it opened doors again. It gave me clarity of thought around the why and what and the journey I'd been on. My whole journey has been about being a great leader, being influential, being visible, going onto that shop floor, like I said. So if anything, it just reminded me of that. And it reminded me of the stuff that I enjoyed versus the stuff that I think when you don't enjoy it, it carries you so far that you just think, I've had enough. It really allowed me to take stock, put things into perspective again, and you know, hit the ground with what I enjoyed and what I was good at, which of course was, like I said, for me was people, and a place and a company that I was interested in.
No, absolutely. And I think we have to say that when you can find a role that ticks the boxes, where it's not just about the numbers, that you have a genuine interest, and you are absolutely winning. So congratulations on your role at Tiny Rebel. Now, before we finish the podcast, one of the things I'm asking all the CFOs that we interview is, to anyone that's listening to this podcast, what 3 nuggets would you like them to take away when they hear you speak?
I guess I can only relate to my journey specifically, but what's really important, I think, is to enjoy what you do. I mean, I would typically suggest by being an accountant, you're going to enjoy being an accountant. And they do say you cut us in half and we'll have numbers fall out. But when I say enjoy what you do, is don't have that Sunday night feeling that you don't want to go into work the next day. And that for me comes in a business that you appreciate, the culture works for you, the right bosses are there, the right influential managers are there. And I think finding a business that you can relate to, that marries up to how your makeup is, I think when you find that, and it is out there. So in addition to that, I would talk about influence. And that influence doesn't just come from sitting behind the desk. It comes out from being exposed to the wider part of the business. That can be everything from a shop floor meeting right through to a board meeting. And asking and being curious. If you're not in those meetings, it could be a new product development meeting, is being intrigued and interested to ask, well, what goes on in that meeting? Can I listen? Can I learn? So I would definitely say be curious and don't be afraid to move out of your own lane. That's absolutely fine in my world. And then I think the last bit of advice is, of course, has to marry back to what we do as finance. We are there as the heart of the business. We don't always make the business tick if they're making a product or selling a product or a service. But we are there to make the decisions. And I think it's reminding and not being afraid to remind the people around you that, those decisions that you make come with the best intent. And if you can do that, and you can do that with, kindness, consideration, think that those people have a job to do as well. That I think that will go, quite a long way in achieving.
No, absolutely. So it's about creating value. It's about influencing. It's about just enjoy what you do. And I think those 3 fundamentals are just key to anyone that's going to be coming into their CFO journey. Amanda, thank you so much for sharing those 3 nuggets. It's about influencing, it's about adding value, and it's just about enjoying what you do. And I really hope anyone listening to your CFO journey that they will just take those 3 nuggets away. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of The Journey to CFO. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation and took away some valuable insights. And if you did, please make sure you subscribe and share the episode with your network and your communities. To find more information and upcoming episodes, please look on ACCA's LinkedIn page. A huge thank you to our guest, Amanda Burton, for joining us today and sharing her experience and expertise. Until next time, thank you for listening. I'm Rachel Shorter, and I'll see you on our next episode of The Journey to CFO.